Welcome back to The Hustle by Hanna. Today we sit down with Mickey Maurer, a true Indiana legend whose life reads like the ultimate Swiss Army knife of careers. From his early days as a cable TV pioneer to building the leading IBJ media and co-founding the National Bank of Indianapolis, he's made sure that key media and banking institutions remain locally owned and community-focused. But Mickey's story goes far deeper. He created Mickey's Camp, a unique adult summer camp uniting businesses, civic, arts, and political leaders to learn, relax, and give back. It's raised millions for Indiana charities and sparked enduring connections in unexpected ways. If you've gone, you've been lucky enough to know how this has impacted your life. And if that weren't enough, he once accepted a $1 per year salary to serve as Indiana's Secretary of Commerce. On top of his business and civic leadership, Mickey is also a multi-genre author, an award-winning underwater photographer, a crossword contributor to the New York Times, and has even climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, proof that he doesn't just dabble, he dives deep into everything he does. In this episode, expect rare stories from behind the scenes of Indiana's media, banking, and political worlds, with tales of resilience, creativity, and the simple ethos of giving back. Mickey isn't just a guest, he's living proof that curiosity, generosity, and impact can coexist at the highest level. Let's get into it. That looks like a compilation of a lot of your different achievements.
I wrote
Crossword puzzles.
7 books, I think. That's maybe a compilation of a number of the books.
Well, that's
I
incredible.
think that's what that was all about.
We can get started talking about a vivid memory that you think has shaped who you are from your childhood.
Well, I would tell you, maybe you might find it interesting, the first job I ever had.
Let's hear that.
I was in 7th or 8th grade after elementary school, and it was at an amusement park. It's no longer there. It's was located across the street from where Glendale Shopping Center is now. It's called Little America. It's not there anymore. And one of the things they could do with the kids was there was a little path in a circle that you could put your kid on top of a pony, and somebody would lead the pony around the circle. And I was in charge of leading the pony. And there were a few other ponies. And they paid us by the hour. I don't know how much it was, maybe 50 cents. I stood there waiting, held my pony. Somebody put the kid on top of the pony. I started leading the pony around. And the pony in front of me stopped and dumped on my shoe. And I looked down at my shoe and I said, maybe I better stay in school.
So then you just went straight into school?
What I said to myself is, maybe I ought to stay in school long enough to learn something that I can do better than lead ponies around.
Did you want to become a lawyer right away?
My father wanted me to become a lawyer right away. And so I became a lawyer.
Did that come easy to you?
Yeah, academics came easy to me. Luckily, I could assimilate information. But I wasn't a great lawyer either. So I think I'm a better business person than I was a lawyer. I practiced for 20 years. I tell people I practiced for 20 years but never got it right.
But maybe for the best. I think that aspect of if it came easy to you being a lawyer, then you would have just been a lawyer like everyone else. But you're an entrepreneur and a businessman who's accomplished a lot more.
Not even as good as everyone else. There's great lawyers out there. I'm not one of them. But I did it for 20 years.
Did you always think you were going to pivot into a different
Always
business?
to be in business.
Any specific business right away?
No, I didn't know what it was, but things developed, opportunity came, and I was luckily able to take advantage of those opportunities. I don't have a very long attention span, so I like to do new things. And so I did throughout my entrepreneurial career. The hardest advice you could give somebody in business is find something that you like, that you do well, like making podcasts, and do that. Whereas I've found something that I didn't know anything about, did that, then got tired of that, did something else I didn't know anything about, did that and did that. And so it's not the best advice.
But I think if you want it and you have that drive, then...
Well, if you're going to do it that way, you better be principled. You better know how to behave in business, because there's a lot of important principles that relate to whatever you're doing. I wrote a book about it.
Can you talk a little bit about how those principles guide you through the radio stations, cable networks, and other businesses?
Yeah, there's 10 principles. Would you like a copy of the book?
I would love a copy of the book.
I think there's somebody in there you know.
Is it my father?
Because I put in stories about me and about my friends, of which he was one or is one. And I try to tell lessons about that because of the mistakes they made. So if your father's in the book, it's likely because he made a mistake.
Fantastic.
And and it's fun to read about the mistakes people made and how they learned from them.
Hmm.
There's 10 things that you can learn from mistakes that I and others have made so you don't have to make those mistakes. And the things you learned by reading that book, they didn't teach you in school.
It's funny. I also have a business degree and I have a second master's. So I love school, but there are so many things, if not more things, that I've learned outside of school where I've failed and learned again that I would never learn in school. And so I question whether
Oh, I think you'd love that book.
I would absolutely love
I
it.
have a copy for you.
Great. If not, I will be a happy purchaser of the book. Did your dad have the similar mindset that you had?
My dad was a Depression era kid. He wanted to be a lawyer, and that's why he wanted me to be a lawyer. But he had 6 siblings. He had to work. His father died at, I forgot. I don't remember now. Or maybe even younger. He didn't have time for that. He was what you would call today a junk man, which would be a used auto parts person. You buy wrecked cars and then you sell the parts. So he didn't have an advantage that he gave me.
What was your relationship with him?
Well, we got along pretty good, but I was fired a number of times from the junkyard where I worked because I didn't know a Ford from a Chevrolet and I didn't care.
So he allowed you to have the opportunity that he didn't have. And then
Yeah, because I was a middle class kid and he wasn't.
what were you driven by?
Well, I had this feeling inside of great confidence. I think you need that to be an entrepreneur.
Mhm.
This is a little bit about, you ask for philosophy. It's only one page, so you can look at it quickly if you want.
So it says, this was my world on Saturdays and every summer from age 10 until midway through college when I was able to apply new skills to a job in the office. It was the age when Cokes were a nickel, pay telephones were a dime, and we would sell you a good used tire for a $5 bill. It was basic capitalism where the rubber actually met the road. Everything in the place was for sale and every price was subject to a negotiation. It was where I was introduced to the rhythm of business. So that was one of the first memories, I would say, that allowed you to get a taste of business and take that into the next phase of your life. But you said you weren't good at it. You got fired
Oh, at the junkyard,
at the junkyard.
yeah, but I was always rehired.
What do you think they saw in you?
A relative.
Your network.
So now you're in a different thing.
Yes. But in this, you talk about negotiation. And is that something, obviously, as a lawyer, you negotiate a lot, but what about in business outside of being a lawyer?
Of course, negotiation is part of life.
And I think I'm reading this right now, but it says you'll never forget your experience at Ninth and Senate and sharing those ideas with your children. How do you teach your children who also have more than you ever had to have the same drive?
Well, we made them get jobs. So my wife often said, well, we might be rich, but you're not. Did your father ever tell you that?
He always made me work. It was never you're given this. It was your job is school and your grades are a reflection of that. So you can go play sports, you can go on trips with your friends, but your job is school. So if you don't get your job done, you can't do anything else. I excelled at school, but I also loved the social aspect of
Of
school.
course. In California somewhere, didn't you?
I did. I went to USC. Yes. 3 times. And I loved it. And I still live there in LA.
Have you gone crazy?
No.
You would.
Eventually I'll go crazy. But don't we all? I think that
No, because it's California. I used to have a lot of companies and many employees, and I've always told them that we got to be careful where we do business.
Mhm.
And there are certain foreign countries, for example, we shouldn't do business. One of them is California.
You are absolutely correct in that. But I think for me, I grew up going between my parents' houses every 2 weeks. So I'm very used to traveling different state. And what I like about California is it's a great jumping off point to different areas of the world. And I love Indiana for learning the foundations of business, being in my dad's office, meeting people like you. But I have expanded my world even outside of California. And I think having the grounding aspect of Indiana and then the visibility of California has allowed my network to expand. What about for you? What did you grow up in Indiana thinking? Did you want to leave or did you want to grow up in
Once
business?
I left, I went to the University of Colorado
I love Colorado.
and spent 4 years of college there and enjoyed it very, very much. Kind of like you might have enjoyed California. Then I went to law school for 3 years, and I still wanted to leave, so I went to New York and practiced as a tax lawyer for a year.
And how was that experience?
Well, it was eye-opening because I'm just a kid from Indiana, and so you had to learn a lot quickly how to get around and how to function in that different environment, and I enjoyed it for a while, but then it got old.
And you moved back?
Yeah.
What was your first job back in Indiana outside
I
of
met a guy at a party, and he offered me a job. It sounded good. He was a very large developer of apartments around the country, and he asked me to be what he called his feasibility analyst. I think I had to look up some of those words, but because he was wealthy and had a good reputation, he had an opportunity to invest in a lot of stuff. And so he would give me all those opportunities for me to evaluate, and then I would advise him as to whether this would be a good investment for him. Feasibility analyst. And that lasted about a year. Then I decided that I couldn't work for anybody else anymore. So I opened up my own office.
your own law firm? What was your focus or how did you find?
Anything with numbers.
Okay.
Remember, I was a tax lawyer from a really sophisticated tax law. And I thought, I was naive, that, well, when I open up my practice, everybody will come and bring me their important, sophisticated tax work. But nobody did because I was in my 20s, younger than you. And so I ended up doing law like every other kid. And, but then, like everybody, I guess I started developing a practice. It had a lot to do with numbers, advising doctors on how to save taxes, for example. I had a big practice of that. And doing bond work, which is financing with tax-free securities, and fairly sophisticated. And anyway, I did it for 20 years, but I never really enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed business. So I gradually just did less law, more business, less law, more business.
What businesses were you attracted to?
Well, we had a large cable television company, and we didn't have the most subscribers of anybody in Indiana, but we had the most systems because we specialized in smaller towns. Made a full-length motion picture at Fairshade.
Behind you?
Yeah, that's the poster for them.
Do you think your creativity led you into, or maybe instead of creativity, it's curiosity? And
Curiosity, a good word. Yeah, that was on HBO and Cinemax.
I'll have to watch that too. What made you think you could do these things?
Have you ever been in a movie and you walk out and said, boy, that was horrible?
Yes.
I said, well, gee, I could do that. So I tried.
Where did you get the funding for that?
Well, by then it was not right away. So
This was later on.
that was some money.
But I think today, the challenge with my peers, a lot of the fear of failure stops people from even starting because it's not going to be perfect. But you have all of these different.
But I didn't have that fear.
Why didn't you have that fear?
I think it's something you're born with.
I believe that to be correct as well.
Or maybe it's something your dad instills in you. Says, yes, Anna, yes, you can. And a little voice inside that says, I can do this.
Absolutely.
I can do this. An entrepreneur maybe can't do everything, but can find people who can.
And that's a skill in itself.
Maybe surrounding himself or herself with people who are darn smart and help him succeed.
Were you driven to succeed in these businesses because they were new to you, or was it the success? A lot of these things, I imagine, have financial success, but there's also this success and the feeling of validation that you've accomplished.
I think there's a combination of things. And in the movie business, I didn't make any money on the business, but I did create a movie,
You did.
full-length picture. HBO wanted to show. Actually, they took a second run. So they liked it, and they had good feedback, and they paid for it again. But I think that confidence is inner somewhere.
Agree.
Because if you don't have confidence in yourself, entrepreneurship is hard. People say no a lot. So you better feel like you can do it.
So what was your definition of success for the movie? Was it HBO telling you that they wanted to purchase it?
Well, that was helpful, but I wasn't looking for some type of justification or certification or anything. I just was out doing stuff I like to do. At that time, the fact that it didn't make any money or lost, I think, $1 million or something like that wasn't a big deal.
Well, you took the decision, or you made the decision to try something new, and the risk was minimal at that point.
I think the risk of losing money was quite significant, but the amount of money lost wasn't going to be much.
Got it.
Can't lose more than you spend.
Exactly. And that's another business principle that I think people take for granted is if you keep pouring money into it, you're going to have the potential.
You look
Show me.
in one of these chapters. Yeah, I mean, just read the first paragraph. You'll see that out the movie.
I'm going to read it out loud. Did you ever sit around with your friends on an afternoon and decide, just like Mickey Rooney and Judy Garland in the Andy Hardy movies, to put on a show? We probably all have walked out of a theater and complained, I'm sure I can make a better film than that. In 1989, I did both and learned an expensive lesson, the people principle. Can you say in a few words what the people principle is?
Well, I would say that people are the most important aspect of every single business decision you make. And when when you start to learn of opportunities and you look at numbers because have a business degree, you're jumping the gun. The first thing you want to do is say who's involved and then evaluate it from that point.
What about in your other businesses? Did you have any mistakes that you picked the wrong people? Can you talk about that? Can you talk about that?
Well, I think I'll make you read the book.
For my listeners, can you give maybe one of the lessons you learned from meeting with the wrong people or
Well,
choosing the wrong people?
there are a lot of lessons that I listed. There are 10 principles,
Mm-hmm.
and people tops them all. So when you start to evaluate a business transaction, you should say, okay, who's involved? What's their track record? What's their reputation? How well will I get along with them? Or use any criteria you want, but just evaluate the people you're involved with.
Yeah, I think the people and this is from my last interview that I had, the people you start with aren't always the people you end with, but it's extremely important that you choose the right people in the beginning because those are the ones that are going to build the foundation for the future of the business.
Going back to what we said before, what if I said to you, hey, where were you born? And if you said, oh, I've lived in California all my life, I would say, as part of my evaluation people principle, I don't think we can do business. Or what if you said, I just moved here, or I'm only here part-time. I'm from Indiana. I'm a Midwesterner. I said, well, then we can do business. Now, that's kind of a bias, but these biases can be important in steering you to make good decisions. They're almost like rebuttable presumptions. A rebuttable presumption. I presume that because you said this, that you mean that, but you can overcome it. It's rebuttable.
Did you choose people that you knew in your network?
You have a lot of old friends.
Yes, I do, actually.
I would say to you, going to California, Tennessee, you meet a lot of new people in your business life. You meet a lot of good new friends. Keep the old ones. I didn't say don't add any, but keep the old ones.
I keep my friends from Indiana that I've known since I was born to high school. I just came back from a trip with them. Those are my closest, best friends, and they're family to me.
You're really on the right track. Somewhere along the line, your family, your mom and your dad knew how to bring you up properly.
Thank you. I think that I have been born into a family that has supported and pushed me to be the best version of myself. And it's not something I take for granted, and it's led me here. So I'm very thankful for that. One thing that I think I not struggle with, but I find it hard to validate, I guess, in myself is I haven't had that much failure because I've almost been in a bubble, and you can question whether have you pushed yourself hard enough to get that failure or...
Well, I don't think you need to seek failure.
No.
I wouldn't be afraid.
Afraid of it. Yeah. Would you agree with the statement? If you haven't had failure, have you pushed yourself hard enough?
No, I wouldn't say that.
So what failures, or maybe it could be a different word, what lessons have you learned that you could pass along to someone like me?
I guess I would say you don't be afraid to try or of failure, whether you fail or not. If you fail a few times, don't be afraid of failure. And if you feel like you're not pushing yourself because maybe you're afraid of failure, then you should. I'll tell you a story. I was on the board of a bank, and in the old days, when somebody was a successful business person in town, banks often would want that person on their board just to say, we're a good bank and we have some famous people on our board or some successful people on our board. It's like hiring a someone to talk about your bank. And it's a sign that maybe that person arrived, but they don't know anything about banking necessarily. So I was on this board not knowing anything about banking. And the bank had fired a customer that I knew from the cable TV business, actually. And the customer who I knew said, something's wrong here, Mickey. I've been a good customer of the bank for a long time and I borrowed a lot of money. I paid it all back and they fired me. And I said, oh, there must be a mistake. So I checked and the bank had decided to fire him because they felt like they had too much of an allocation in their communications portfolio. So you should put an end to this story here real fast, but it bothered me to the point where I said, well, I can't be a party of this. I'm going to quit and start my own bank. And that's why I started my own bank. At the time, I had to have the confidence that I could do something I'd never done before. But I remember saying, I'm going to start my own bank. And then I said to myself, what did you say?
How do I do this?
And then I left and I had to go about making my word. So I had to figure out how to do it. And that's when the entrepreneurial process begins. But before that, you've got to have that confidence. And that's what I
Yeah.
would say to you.
It's the conviction. And I think if you don't believe that you can do it, then no one else is going to believe it.
That's right.
But if you believe it, everything else is just a step in the business plan. And you clearly had the ability to get it done academically, and you had the right people in your network, like you said. And then the conviction in yourself and the confidence in yourself is something that can't be replicated.
Yeah. So many of that stuff is in the book.
I
And
can't wait.
reading's very easy. Like,
This stood out to me too. Rely on your gut. I think that is one of the most intuitive parts.
yeah, but that doesn't mean rely on your ego either.
No, not
And a lot of people do that instead.
Well, that can lead you down a different
And
path.
also, it doesn't mean that you just wake up one day and rely on your gut. It means that you've done some research, some reading and some interviewing and gathered some information. And then instead of doing exactly what your lawyer says to do or your accountant says to do, you make your own decision. And in doing so, rely on your gut.
I find myself to be very prepared. And when I'm not prepared, then I feel very out of control. But when I'm prepared and then I come to a problem, then I feel like I can take that step back, rely on my gut. And it's not really a question. It's being intuitive about which direction you're
And the
prepared
more
for.
you're successful doing that,
Hmm.
the better you'll do. The
Exactly.
more times you will rely on your gut. And pretty soon, you won't even look back.
I completely agree. Was there a time that you didn't rely on your gut?
I think I always relied on my gut. And that's a good way to do it.
Hmm.
Although I always sought advice from,
Did you have any mentors?
sure, that's another chapter. To be his feasibility analyst. After I quit, he asked me to do a lot of things with him business wise. He was a mentor.
What was the best piece of advice that he gave you?
Stay cool. Was an infantryman in World War II and fought on the front and was under a lot of adversity. And he said to himself when he got back, no matter how bad it wasn't going to be as bad as somebody out there trying to kill me. And because of that, he was always cool as could be.
Perspective.
So he gave me a lot of good advice.
What's the piece of advice you give to rising entrepreneurs? If you could distill it down to one sentence. You have a lot of words on your book, but which one of these is most important to you?
And let me think about that. I think that one sentence or one word, I think it has a lot to do with how you treat your fellow man. So in your case, I'd say 3 words, be a lady. A lot of people that work for me women felt like they had to behave like a man in order to be successful like they perceive a man to be. And I always told our folks,
I think there's a lot. You can try to fit in a bubble or a framework that isn't natural to you, but what's going to work best and give you the most success is a mixture of drive and it's who you are. If it's not natural to you, you're going to maybe fake it till you don't make it. But I think there's a lot to be said about being the best version of yourself, and that is authentically you. You have Mickey's Camp, you have the Maurer School of Law, you have other charitable donations. What do you think compelled you to give back the way that you have?
Well, I think it's one of my important principles of being a good entrepreneur. If you want to be a good, you have to treat your community well. You have to, and your fellow man. So there's whole chapters in the book about that. And I always felt that was an integral part of being a good entrepreneur, giving back.
Which one are you most proud of?
Oh, I don't know that I'm more proud of one than another. When I was in law school, rather than you think that I bragging about my academic career, I think I entered the law school with maybe the lowest GPA from college. So just know that part. I never double checked that, but it couldn't have been too much lower and still got in it. But I started to take things more seriously in school. So I had a good academic record in college. And because of that, I was awarded an academic scholarship for which I did not even apply.
Wow.
And there was a program by local bar association reward good law students in the hopes that they would stay in Indiana, practice law there. So I got a scholarship. I think it was $1,000. I never saw that much money in my whole life in one place. And I'd read about a guy who in the commodities market and who got some money and made it into a fortune. So I thought, well, I'll do that. So I invested the whole $1,000 in something called corn futures. And within 30 days, I lost it all.
Oh my God.
So I never invested in the commodities market again. But more importantly, I realized that there were people there who cared about me being successful as a lawyer in Indiana. And I said to myself that if I ever got to the point where I had any money, I would make sure I was that kind of person. And I'd make my first meeting back to the law school. And that's how it all came.
It must feel good now, too, to know that you're helping other people with their journeys.
Well, sure. Yeah.
What about Mickey's Camp? That's not something that existed before you created it.
No, I created that.
Exactly. What made you?
You want to go this year? 30-year-olds can come.
Really? Maybe. If I'm available.
You have to find somebody to provide you the money or you provide it yourself.
Absolutely.
Anyway, like it. I'm sure.
Yes.
I don't know. I got this crazy idea that I wanted to learn a few things that I didn't know. That because I was busy in my business, I never took the time to learn those things, like how to be a better photographer at the time, or a poker player, or learn about all kinds of other things. And so I remember sitting home and writing down a list of things that I wasn't very good at. And I remember my wife coming in and adding 2 or 3 things.
That's amazing.
So then I contacted a bunch of pros and experts that I researched from the internet and said, I want you to come in and teach me what you're a professional in. And then I got the idea, well, I'll give them an incentive to come in. I'll make it a charitable endeavor. And I put the whole thing together and it worked. And we've been doing it for over 20-some years now.
That's incredible.
And raised millions of dollars.
There doesn't seem like a better way to spend your time than one, being surrounded by people that want to grow and are curious, people that give back, and learning something new that might spark your interest.
That's what so if you had been sitting next to me and we would talk this, you would have said, well, I encourage you, Mickey. I think this is a good idea. So that's what I thought.
Did anyone say this is a bad idea?
Yes. In the beginning, I found a small camp, a YMCA camp in Shelbyville, Indiana. And I had it for men only because the campground didn't lend itself to co-ed cabins and all that stuff. People complained. Some women complained. There's going to be a bunch of men there and they're going to do business and we're excluded. It's a funny thing happened, though, when I surveyed my campers, when I had a separate women's camp, I surveyed them. Do you want to be integrated with the men's camp? None of the women. He said no.
But it eventually came together.
No, it never did.
There haven't been women?
Oh, yeah, there were women, but Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday were women. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday were men.
Got it.
I didn't integrate. Except for Wednesday, the middle day, they all have lunch together. And then the women leave and the men stay.
Even that's how it works now?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And we have a couple of classes on Wednesday that are available co-ed in the morning and in the afternoon. But other than that,
Well, I could teach
separate
them the
days.
importance of social media and podcasting, how to translate your business onto the digital market. It's very
Yeah.
important. I have all my equipment. Yeah. I think there's something to be said too about going back to your childhood roots, and camp is something that
Yeah.
everyone has, not everyone, most people have a positive memory about, but play is so important. And you have these aspects of play throughout your career, whether it's photography, camp, skiing, hiking, whatever you may do. You need those things to ground you back to what makes you happy. And I think that's curiosity and play.
You're talking about balance.
Yes. A lot of people don't believe in balance.
Oh, balance is very important.
I agree with that. I might go a little too far into one way or another, but
Yeah, there's a story in there about a very bright entrepreneur who kind of lost balance, expanded too fast.
What do you do now for balance?
I think I've had a pretty good attitude toward balance. At an older age, balance is slipping to adjusting for just things that you can't do anymore and trying to find different things you can do. So you said hiking. Well, I climbed Kilimanjaro, but I can't do that anymore. Too old. I can't ski anymore. So I have to find new things to do.
What do you think is the biggest misconception people have about you today? Because you have a very long career and there's so many different aspects. I'm sure your network has grown to levels that you wouldn't have expected. But what do you think people don't know about you?
That's an interesting question, Hannah, because I feel there's 80% of me people, 80% of me that people don't know about, because I'm a private person. And we're talking about a lot of things, but they're surface things. So you don't get to really know me on one sitting and talking things that I've done or things that are accomplishments. I think it takes a while to get to know me because I don't want you to.
Is it because you have regrets?
No, no, no. I just private, just me.
Well, what do you want to share that people don't know? What would surprise somebody about you?
But I like that question too. I do things I mentor people. I have worked with an ex-offender who spent a lot of time in solitary confinement and worked with him for 10 or 12 years to save his life. But we don't talk about it. It's not publicized. People don't have any idea. There's something there.
I've never been able to help someone in that way. And I think understanding and empathizing with someone who's been in that position, I'm sure changed your perspective.
It did.
Yeah.
I learned a lot about that life. And I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist. And so I had to learn as I went. But being a friend is 80%. You do a good job.
Thank you. I love talking to people and meeting people and having conversations like this. I think there's so many attributes that I've read about in just this short period that you've spoken about and that I knew about you that I saw in myself. So it's great to speak to someone like you.
It's
Yes.
flattering for me. Thank you so much.
Of course. Again, I will go back to it so many times. I like the word balance, having hobbies that ignite your curiosity, like photography, skiing, hiking, whatever it is, but then also that hustle for business and wanting to build something is not something you can replicate. But when you see it in someone else, you want to build upon it. And it's not an aspect of hope, but it's an aspect of determination that for me, it keeps me building. For you, you're mentoring and you're helping and you're building your network beyond something greater than yourself. And I think that's incredible. And I'm very happy to have recorded this podcast and just had that conversation and continue the...
Then we can be friends.
Yes, definitely. You have an incredible life and I think it's inspiring.
Thank you for saying that. I don't know whether it extends to the point of being described as incredible,
I think it is.
but it's very nice of you to say.
I appreciate it.
And maybe it's because I just gave you a present.
No, it's perfect. But thank you, truly. I appreciate it. Thank you for coming on my podcast.
I've enjoyed it very much.
We can continue in the future. Thank you.